Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha. The teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed Shlita. Well, here we are, Yom Chamishi. We ask you to please continue davening for Chayil Yitzvah Yisrael, for Shalom Chal B'Tuah Yisrael, and keep davening for Ron Gvili that his body should be returned for Kavuras Yisrael. On and on it goes, this saga. It's unbelievable, and we learn each day. Nishmat, Sarah, and Daniel, Shimon, Rav Darom, Shalish, Shankum, Damo. And for those astute listeners, I didn't mention it, but it was written in the podcast notes. But yesterday was overall episode 600. 600. That's a lot. Even when I look back at it, it's kind of like, wow, we did 600 episodes. So Hashem should just give us the siyata d'shmaya to continue spreading words of Torah. So let's finish this short chapter, Tefillat Nedava v'Dinei Sveikos. Tiknu Chachamim shalosh tefillas b'chol yom. So Chazal instituted that we should daven 3 times a day. Shachris keneged tamid shel shachar, mincha keneged tamid shel bein harbayim, v'arvis keneged ha'alas evarim p'darim agabe mizbech. That we mentioned a long time ago, hundreds of episodes ago, perhaps. I think this is episode 157 in Tefillah, so it's been a lot on Tefillah. Shachris was instituted because of the carbon tamid in the morning. Mincha was the tamid, which was in the afternoon, and Marav is because when they brought all the limbs and everything else on the Mizbeach. Ukamoshe bisman shebeis hamikdash hayakayim kol yochad shirota hayrishoy lahosif lahakav karbonas nedava. And just as in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, that any individual who wanted had the ability to add and to bring optional pledged karbonos, so too, an individual can add on an Nedava and Shmona Esrei in what's called a Nedava. And to recognize it, to make it understandable that this tefillah is an Nedava, all of the Hosef Tefillah Eiz Bakasha Ishis Miyuchada. So therefore, one has to add in his tefillah something personal that is unique, that's not found in the regular Misgeret. A carbon musaf was never brought as an Nedava, as an own personal donation. So too, we don't daven musaf in a personal way either. And we also don't give karbanos of Nedava on Shabbos or Yom Tov. So the same thing applies to Tefillah, that we don't have a Tefillas Nedava on Shabbos or Yom Tov. And if a person wants to daven at Tefillas Nedava, so you have to remind yourself and make sure that you're very careful and understand that you're able to concentrate from the tefillah on the beginning to the end. But if you can't have proper kavana, it's better that you shouldn't daven at all. Nowadays, since we can't concentrate fully anyway, in general, we don't do what is called a tefillas nedava. Let's say somebody has a doubt. Did I say Shmona Esrei or not? Did I say Shachris? Did I say Mincha? As long as it's still the time to daven, Yachzer v'yispal misafek, you could still daven misafek, because you're not sure. And you have to make the following condition in your heart: in kfar hispalalti harezu tefillas nedava. If I already davened, then this is going to be an additional, personal, added-on prayer. V'im lo hispalalti harezu tefillas chova. But if not, if I didn't actually daven, then this will be the one that I was supposed to daven. And in that tefillah, you don't have to have something new, a chiddush in your davening, because the fact is that you're davening and it's a suffix, that is in and of itself a chiddush. And even though nowadays we don't daven at tefillas nedava, however, in order to remove yourself from a possibility of doubt, then you're allowed to daven in that instance. And if, let's say, you're saying this make-up prayer, or it might possibly be a make-up prayer, and then you realize, you know what, I actually did daven. Since at the beginning of your davening, if you made this condition, if I davened, then this will be a tefillas nedava, and if I didn't daven, this will be what I was supposed to say. And now we realize in the middle, this is actually going to be a tefillas nedava. So you recognize in the middle that this actually will be a nedava, therefore you should just continue saying that until the end. And then you should add some personal request, then will again show that this is actually a tefillas nedava. If a person thought that he did not yet daven, and then he starts davening and he thinks, well, I'm supposed to daven because I didn't daven yet. And then while he's davening, he realizes, you know what, I actually did daven. Now this might seem like a crazy case, but the older I get, the more realistic this can become. So trust me. So in that instance, yafsik miyadas tefillah. So then you should daven. You should stop right away from your davening because you'll realize that you already daven. And you cannot consider this a Tefillat Nedava. Shekashem she'ein karban shemiktasa chova miktasa nedava, kach ein tefillah shetchilasa l'shem chova v'sofa l'shem nedava. Because if we're following the model of a karban can have partial obligation and partial voluntary. Same thing with tefillah. If you start it off as an obligation, it can have a partial voluntary aspect. And since this is what happened in this case, then you shouldn't continue. Let's say somebody's daydreaming in the middle of Shemona Esrei. I know, hard to imagine, right? Somebody's daydreaming and he forgets what bracha he's up to. So you're not sure, am I in the 6th bracha, the 10th bracha? So you should go back to the one that is earlier, or go back to the earliest part that you remember, continue from there, and then conclude Shemona Esrei. So obviously the best thing is always to pay attention, to read from a siddur, but as we know, the mind wanders and things are always weighing down upon us. So it's very realistic that these types of cases can happen, but also we do not do Tefillat Nedava, generally speaking. So thank you for joining us. Please continue davening for Chayei Tzvah Yisrael, for Shalom Yisrael, turn of Ran Gili's body, Kuras Yisrael. So much for joining us. Have a great day. We'll see you next time.